Northern Ireland has, since its very foundation, been divided along religious lines and political lines, which tend to line up very evenly. And I think the statistics are at the moment that about 9 out of 10 students in Northern Ireland are educated in segregated schools. That is to say, they're educated among solely Protestants or solely Catholics. I'll give you an example. I went to, well, my school had, it had 70 pupils in it, I think, whenever I was in lower sixth. 70 pupils in my year, I mean. And of them, only 2 were Catholic. And that's in a country where about 45% are Catholic. Now, that is faith schools, but on a massive scale. And it shows, from my perspective, it shows the really dangerous influence that they can be, because they entrench division, and they basically don't provide an alternative view for children, which is cultural suicide. But it does go deeper. It goes deeper than just the schools, because I remember very well being in a GCSE chemistry lesson, and my dear teacher, who shall remain nameless, lovely man, but talked at length about the formation of the Earth. It was about oil and things like that, where they all came from. And then there was this one rather charmless, aggressive, young Earth creationist, charismatic Baptist fellow in the room in front of me, and he stuck up his hand and in his usual sort of languid tone said, "Sir, do you really believe all that?" And the teacher was like, "Well, I don't really believe it, but I do have to teach it. It's on the course." And I think that's really very sad. It's very unfortunate that religion is such an influence that even a science teacher can actually say and not be criticized for it, that he doesn't actually believe in what he's teaching. And the same is true with evolution. Whenever it was being taught in biology, the usual loudmouths stuck their hands up and said, "Sure, that's not really true, is it?" And I was like, well, a lot of people do believe it, and a lot of people don't believe it. It's the same sort of pussyfooting nonsense answer that you get for these kind of things. And it's terribly sad that that's the case. And Alex, you made the point earlier about the growth of the more extreme churches, and that is a serious problem. And I think it comes from a sort of almost a siege mentality, because they can see their influence win, and the religious can see their influence collapsing and crumbling around them as the 21st century actually happens. And the believers who want to put their faith into practice will then just sort of cling to the ones that do not ask for compromise and will not allow for compromise, as a sort of desperate cry for help. It's quite pathetic in a way, and it reinforces my belief that one of the best ways that you can sort of get religion and get these illogical beliefs and things to stop existing is to let them be and burn themselves out, because they're never going to get anywhere. Not in this day and age, to be honest with you. And just look to where I'm from to see where it does get you if you let the more unpleasant strains of religion go too far.
Was there no backlash of secularism connected to all that religious conflict?
In Northern Ireland?
Yeah.
Almost the exact opposite, I would say. Yeah. Because the conflict, the troubles, were not entirely religious, and a lot of commentators on the atheist side, in particular Richard Dawkins and the late Christopher Hitchens, were very guilty of simplifying it too much and saying that it was just Protestants hating Catholics and Catholics hating Protestants. It wasn't as simple as that. It was a conflict about the constitutional status of the 6 counties of Northern Ireland, and that tended to line up very well. If you were a unionist, you were a Protestant. If you were a nationalist, you were a Catholic. And since the end of the Troubles, religion, in the sense that it's become a marker for hate, has become less, but in the sense that it's become an important factor for the community, it seems completely unchanged. You're still defined by what church you go to, because of the enormous power of the ecclesiastical social network in Northern Ireland. And the division's still there to see, but there's been no backlash of secularism. I mean, if anybody watching this, I assume, has kept an eye on the the Giant's Causeway Visitor Centre nonsense that was happening when the National Trust put in a small segment about young Earth creationism in their Giant's Causeway display, and it went completely barmy because nobody was happy with it. Atheists and secularists weren't happy because obvious reasons, and of course the young Earth creationists weren't happy because the science was actually being given a platform, and of course you can't give godless science a platform. I mean, where does that get you? So I can say with confidence that there really has been no immediate backlash after the Good Friday Agreement and all the peace, but I live in hope. You never know.
Okay.
You never know. And they did find a couple of years ago that it was the most bigoted country in the Western world. So I don't know if that's something to do with the faith. I'm not going to
I think I would prefer that to being the second most bigoted. You at least want to have some kind of marker to show for it, like a trophy.
True. I mean, it is sort of a badge. I believe the second most bigoted was Greece. It was either Greece or Poland. I think it might have been Greece. So, that's one thing we're better than the Greeks on, is actually hating our fellow human beings. It's brilliant. It's a wonderful place to be from.